This is A Line Around Your Thoughts, a podcast that centers on conversations with artists, writers, musicians, and creatives from around the Inland Northwest. I'm your host, EJ Iannelli, and we are joined in the Roke Media studio today by Alex Calbick and Tiffany Bubna of Spokane Puppetry. So welcome, Tiffany, and welcome, Alex.
Thank you, EJ.
Hi.
Hi.
You have such a beautiful voice. I want to get you in a puppet.
So we will talk about that. I haven't done puppetry myself, although I'm puppet curious.
Excellent.
That's all you need. That's all we need to work with.
You know what? Let's start there.
Yes.
There. Because just as a bit of preface, I saw you two at Spokane Creative Mornings. What was that, in November, October?
Halloween.
Yeah, around that time.
I didn't know you were there. Yay.
Yeah, I was lurking in the audience, and I saw you, and I saw the puppets that you had come up with, and in particular, the trash puppets that were made using kind of your specialty as in found art or found objects.
I would agree with that assessment, yeah.
And I really liked the philosophical aspect. So it's not just the creative aspect of puppetry, but the philosophical aspect. And it was something that you mentioned, which was that it's almost this parent-child relationship with the puppet and this almost God-like ability to imbue life into an inanimate object. Mm-hmm. And also, a kind of an extension of that you get to live out some of your wilder impulses through the puppet. It's very liberating in that regard. Yeah. And those are two things that I was super keen to touch on. And I don't mind if we start there and talk about this idea of inhabiting this thing on your hand, or that you might be controlling with strings, and imbuing life into the inanimate object. So I don't know if you want to start there and riff on that idea. Is that part of the appeal of puppetry, this idea of imbuing life into this inanimate object?
Yeah, I mean, the puppetry is it in itself. It's so much a magic trick that's happening. It's like putting the like anything, really truly anything that you can kind of move can become a puppet. Like a crumply piece of paper can be a puppet. It's all in like kind of what makes it a puppet really is someone seeing it and like recognizing it as an entity. Mm-hmm. And so like being able to put weird parts of yourself into something else.
Yeah, that's the magic of it, and also maybe the terror of it is what is coming out and what is being represented from my insides into this. And certainly it's not all, maybe a crumpled piece of paper is not this, spiritual experience. But I find with any puppet that I'm constructing from scratch and then bringing a personality to, that it's a really introspective conversation with myself. Whoa, where did this character come from? What part of me is, trying to be expressed here? And that's magical and, yeah, like scary.
It feels really boundless in a way of like, the edges of like what puppetry is and could be, and what kind of puppets you could make and what kind of characters you could like bring into the real world is, I think like we humans will be making weirder and weirder puppets for centuries to come, and we're at like a very like interesting part in like the world history of puppets that have been around forever, and we're living in the sort of the post Muppets renaissance of like independent puppetry around the world.
Yeah, lots of boundary pushing and ingenuity and things showing up in shows that you're like, well, I never thought about that as puppetry necessarily, but okay, yeah, it is.
Yeah, and it's some of the earliest form of play. When I think back to my childhood, some of the earliest memories that I can think of it being imaginative or creative was making my stuffed animals come to life.
Of course.
Or putting your hand in a sock or a paper bag and making it talk, and instant friend, and again, that object through which you can live out other things that you don't necessarily want associated with you. So I know that some of your puppets have a mischievous side. And so I could
All of them.
all of them have a mischievous side. And so I can make that paper bag a little more mischievous than I might feel comfortable being.
Yes. Yeah.
Exploring those weird spaces, and like I think it's similar to how people who like actors who get very typecast playing villains.
Mm-hmm.
It's like very interesting to explore those those spaces that are like so far from how you actually want to exist in the world, but those characters that like make very interesting stories and like fun interactions, and also like allow us to observe the parts of the real world that are dark and scary in a way that's like dark and scary, but also funny, and like viewing it at a sort of at a distance.
And what were some of your earliest puppets? Because I'm assuming that this must have originated in childhood. Maybe it was actually a later development, but I'm assuming that as a child you had puppets and experimented with puppets. And again, that's such a broad. Puppetry contains multitudes, and so we have string puppets, we have shadow puppets, we have the puppets that are hand puppets. So I realize that when I'm talking, I'm usually referring to the sort of hand puppet.
Yeah. What was your first? Tell us about your first puppet.
Do you remember that it was a really simple marionette that had, it just had a string attached to the head, to the body, and then to the 2 feet. And they were really popular. It was like a really popular toy, maybe in like the late 90s. I remember being 5th or 6th grade, and I absolutely had to have one.
Kind of a little like dancer
like
marionette.
Yes.
A little bobbin.
Yes, somebody had one at the show that we went to at Chameleon. It was, and the feet sort of flap around everywhere, and it's very silly.
And so these were a thing? I don't remember them being a thing.
They were a toy. I feel I'm second guessing myself, but I am almost 100% sure that this was a highly marketed, like desirable, sought after toy for
kind of like dancing bird.
They were bird-like. They had a little duck type
sort of
body
shaped.
Yeah, or some of them were maybe monsters, but they had no arms.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And they, like I said, just a really simple marionette, and you could kind of just make them, you could just do this, and their little legs would flop all over the place. It was so silly, but I had to have one.
And was that, sorry, but was that kind of an aha moment there? Or did you say, I love puppets? Or was it just like, this is cool, and then, moved on to other things?
Yeah, I did love it, though. It was one of those things I feel like my friends lost interest much faster than I did.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had a group of friends, and we all had maybe a different iteration of this puppet. And I'm like, let's get our puppets together. And my friends are like, no, we're tired of that. You can only move its feet. It's boring.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I guess.
And Alex, what about you?
I'm thinking back to childhood, having a plastic tote full of different disparate action figures, from like April O'Neil Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action figure to like Trolls dolls, and having all these like different character interactions with them, and like, okay, like this corner of the room is like where like all the people of this kingdom live, where my like McDonald's, Batman, and Power Rangers lived. And playing, I remember my dad and I used to call it playing men. It was my little plastic men. And that, I would say, definitely did not lead me into a lifelong puppet experience, but like looking back on it, that was definitely a kind of puppetry, and like world building.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's that form of play that I think everybody can relate to, whether or not they're actually controlling a marionette or they've got a sock puppet or not. Just playing with action figures, you're kind of operating a puppet of sorts. So when did the epiphany come, or when did the you rekindle this love of puppetry? Because I remember you two talking about when you met, and what was the phrase that you used? Something like, it's so refreshing to meet somebody who matches your freak. And you two came together and said, hey, we really like puppets, and you started comparing notes. So what was that moment?
When puppetry clicked for each of us individually.
For each of you individually and then jointly.
Well, I had taken a trip down to New Orleans in 2021. And New Orleans is really a puppet capital. There's puppet specific theaters down there. There's tons of different troupes doing really fascinating, edgy, adult puppetry. And I had gone down there for like Mardi Gras, and there was a parade that I went to that had, I think it was specifically a giant puppet parade, like for Mardi Gras. And I just watched this parade of giant puppets, backpack puppets, and sometimes it was like 2 or 3 people manning one singular piece.
Describe backpack puppet.
That's what my puppet was at Terrain, where you have a frame that's mounted onto like an aluminum backpack. So you can strap it on, and then the puppet sits above your body, and you're either in front of it, sort of manning arms or tentacles or whatever, or you're inside it, which is what I did with Harmony at Terrain. And I just had one of those moments where I fell in love with that art form and with all those pieces, and started scheming about how I could. I actually initially didn't even think about the fact that I could build one myself. I just was so enamored with the art, and started kind of consuming media around it and YouTube videos and things like that. And then it sort of occurred to me, why couldn't I make one? I'm an artist. Like, I have the brain that I need. I have the body that works. I can make one for myself. So.
And were you looking for an alternative creative outlet to your culinary creative side? Because it was about this time that you were at, was it SCC? Pursuing a culinary degree.
Yeah.
And getting training as a pastry chef. So I have difficulty, other than the creative connection, reconciling pastries with puppets, other than maybe some alliteration. So
I've always been a woman of many facets. I don't know. I really can't reconcile it either. I think, I really like working with my hands. Every career that I've ever chosen, every art form has all been like really tactile, really tangible, very 3D. And I think both of those things, scratch an itch, and I can't make money as a puppeteer.
Which is a shame.
Not yet. Yeah. But I have to make a living, so baking will have to do for that. But I really like the idea. I have tossed around the idea of how could I overlap these two things?
Edible puppets.
That's exactly where my brain went, was edible puppets. No, I don't know. You'll mark my words, I'm going to figure out baking and puppets.
A new Instagram trend. Yeah. And suddenly the dancing marionette of the past will seem so passé because we'll have edible pastry puppets. That'll be the new fad.
Hire some front of house puppets for the bakery.
Yeah, they're the cash register.
What can I get you?
I love it. Who wouldn't love a bakery manned by puppets?
It's just going to Sesame Street for some hand pies.
Exactly.
And when does your epiphanical moment stem from? Was it as recent as 2021, or does it predate that a little bit?
My puppet sort of epiphany definitely came pretty recently, relatively. So I've been going to an event called Shebang in Bellingham, which is a arts and music festival, I would say it's like an old-timey circus festival run by jazz freaks.
Okay.
It started out as like a downhill derby where like your vehicle must have brakes. You have to have a helmet, and it has to be like gravity powered. And just all these weirdos out in this quarry making weird art cars and racing them down. And our huge community has like developed around this event and like the arts community in Bellingham. And that was where I first saw Jawbone Puppet Theater, Adam Ende, and just like doing very strange, deeply adult puppetry, like how do I say, like a very the word is escaping me.
Now you're moving here, pointing like
your
corporally,
body,
like viscerally.
Viscerally.
There we go. Okay.
Word. A very visceral depiction of the biblical story of circumcision.
Oh, I
in
see.
The form
Okay.
Of a puppet show, or a
No topic off limits.
puppet slideshow about the horrors of borders and so this is a very like non-escapist puppet theater and very like low tech, like
One guy.
a lot of my one guy and like whoever he can convince around him to help, which seems to be a lot of people, but yeah, mostly centered around Adam Ende. And that was sort of a moment of like my like puppet aspirations come a lot from like specifically the Dark Crystal and Farscape, which was a Henson company produced like space opera television show, with just like incredible weird aliens, and so like, you know, interacting with Jawbone Puppet Theater, and also there is a recurring puppet at Shebang Festival that is a raccoon just like in a trash can. Presumably there's a puppeteer in the trash can, but I couldn't be 100% certain. But just like one-to-one interacting with just everyone at this festival, and like saying is like, whoa, like puppetry is a way to like give people really personal, very physical like experiences of the fantastical, like bringing people like into a cartoon world, a world that like mostly people just get to look at through a screen or maybe on a stage. And so seeing, you know, like, oh, they made these puppets out of cardboard and, you know, tempera paint and pieces of trash. It's like, I know where to get cardboard and tempera paint and pieces of trash. And so, yeah, finding that it was accessible, especially after, you know, going through years of doing different very hands-on work, doing fabricating work for a composting company. So I was like building high-end composting systems by like retrofitting IBCs, intermodal bulk containers, which are large plastic containers that have like a steel frame around them. They're like super common for shipping liquids. Just like, well, if I can turn a large industrial shipping material like into something else, it's like, what else can get turned into something else? And it turns out like most things in our world are just made out of materials, and those materials are like, we, you know, when we see an object that's made out of material, which is all objects, oftentimes we like see the object for how it was built, what it was intended for, and like this sort of like Platonic idea of like what a chair is, when really that is just a selection of wood that is combined in a certain way. And
but you get into I think you raise an interesting point about the physicality of the fantastical, because now, I mean, CGI has progressed to a point where when it's done right, it can be a green screen, and what can be created on a green screen can be almost indistinguishable from what could potentially be happening. I was going to say reality, but then, there are things that happen with CGI that, defy physics, defy reality. But puppetry in particular is a way of within the world that we inhabit, introducing the fantastical into that to the point where it becomes tactile and it becomes tangible. And to me, that has a lot more appeal. Even when those puppets are on screen, when you think Sesame Street, an animated version of Sesame Street or a CGI version of Sesame Street just doesn't have the same allure, the same intimacy, the same connection as a physical puppet-driven version of Sesame Street. And so, the fantastical almost seems more real as a result.
Yeah.
I think of it in terms of like when you look at old cel-shaded animation, like you can see an object in the background is going to be animated because you can see the difference of something that's on a cell sheet versus like the painted background. And I think that like puppets in a lot of way is like, it's like removing that artifice of it. It's like, all the layers of the reality exist on the same, in the same three-dimensional space.
I think it's by no coincidence that we're seeing a draw towards puppetry in the same time frame as we are accepting, artificial intelligence into our way of life, and and we have these methods of creating spaces that are not real, not tangible. And I think that there is a little bit of like, we crave that as human beings, the tangible arts. And I think that that's just our, whether it's conscious or not. It's actually so funny to me and so fascinating, because for so long I've been like, puppetry is so weird. What a weird niche, kind of a little bit embarrassing interest that I have here. And then the more that I move about in circles of humans that are living consciously, the more that I am so impressed by how drawn other folks are to this medium. And I think that there's a reason behind that. I think that we are really like fatigued of the artificial.
Yeah, screen fatigue. Yeah.
Yes, we're tired. It's almost like eating too much candy, right? Our tummies hurt now, and we need real food. We need real food, and I think puppetry tickles that. Really make believe, childlike centers in us that are attracted to these artificial things, but ultimately that won't sustain us. Maybe.
Yeah, and I think. You say that I also felt this way, that it was like, oh, the puppetry, this is like my niche interest. But I think in the process of like presenting this to Spokane and to the people of Spokane, I think we found that it is not niche, actually. The amount of interest, the amount of like excitement we've seen around this, the amount of contribution that we've been getting at the builds is like, I don't think it's niche anymore. I think it's like, and it's like what you're saying about, the digital fatigue being like eating too much candy. It's like puppets are extremely fibrous.
I like that visual.
But there is a dearth of options here in Eastern Washington. It's not rich in puppetry resources and puppetry troops, unlike, say, the West Coast or other large cities, or New Orleans, for example. So what are you trying to introduce here in Spokane with Spokane Puppetry? Are you trying to just cultivate an awareness and appreciation for puppets? Are you trying to maybe take puppetry a little bit further than it's gone in other locales? So yeah, talk to me about the mission of Spokane Puppetry and what you're really hoping to do in Eastern Washington.
Well,
All of it.
all of it. I would say that, I think we both have, maybe we have slightly different ideas about what our goal is, but I think one of our really big goals is make there be more puppeteers in Spokane.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that so many people exist right on just the edge of becoming a puppeteer. It's like all they need is permission.
Yeah.
I don't think they need the permission, but I think that they feel like they need it. And I think in the same way that, like, I think all people are artists and all people are creative, and it's a question of self-identification of like what makes someone be an artist. I think like anyone could be a puppeteer if only they want to take just a small step.
It's very much evangelism on our part.
Yeah.
We're just trying to, we're just trying to expose that this is a medium that could be, like you said, the breadth is endless. The application is endless. Incorporated in this, and we could see it in all these ways. And I think that's the main goal for sure. And also creating a space for people to feel 100% free and comfortable to be so silly about it, because it is there's no place for ego in puppetry is what we say. And that's true. And that's very freeing also. So we have really tried in our events that we've done in our builds and our get-togethers to, say all forms of puppetry are like welcome. We celebrate all of them, and all mediums are great. And we've tried to just make it like a really, really broad space for anybody to feel like I could come and do this thing that I've been thinking about, but I'm worried about how it'll be received, or I'm worried about how to technically do it, or
Yeah, I think like a big hurdle for me feeling like allowing myself to feel really excited about puppetry and really proactive about it was just like, puppetry by yourself is like not fun.
Yes.
You gotta have, it's like such a, like, I mean, I know some people like do pretty like one or two people, very like small scale puppet productions, but like it's just
But
more
they still
fun.
have an audience.
There's gonna, right.
There's still people who show up to watch it. So
Exactly. So you just need, it's just so much more fun with more people.
Yes.
You can make more complicated puppets. You can draw on more people's skills and more people's like perspectives and interests.
But are you two introverts or extroverts by nature? And the reason I ask that is because I find myself more on the introverted side of things. I'm fine in small groups, and then when we get into crowds, I would, rather retreat. I'm not particularly performative either, but the idea of a puppet and the reason I am puppet curious, as I kind of stated at the outset, is because something about that really appeals to me, where I can channel this persona into a puppet and then entertain other folks. It's that liberating quality. And also this nice balance between the childlike whimsy and also being able to tackle adult issues in a way that people are more accepting when it comes from a felt or a paper object.
yes.
So is that something that you have noticed, and is that some of the appeal for you as well?
I have a lot of experience performing in like other mediums. I don't really have a lot of puppetry performing experience, but I was professionally fire spinning for a period of time. I was in a band, and like I was just finding like I was just getting like worse and worse stage fright over time.
So extrovert and then kind of moving into introvert.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So having the puppet to be like, it's like, oh, it's I'm not saying all this silly goofy stuff. That's a puppet. Take it up with a puppet.
Yeah, that's a similar journey for me too. I have a performance art background. I did theater as a kid and was, did choir and have been a dancer, at various times in my life. And I started to feel drawn away from the limelight a little bit. I did a little bit of like backstage work in a costuming department. And I was like, well, this isn't quite right either, because I enjoy sewing and textiles and all of that. But I was like, there's still, where's the in-between here between having all eyes on me or lurking in the shadows of a performance, and the puppet is the absolute perfect medium for that. That's when I wore Harmony at Terrain, it was incredible because I was hidden, fully hidden. So I was being perceived as her and able to really like almost consume people's responses to her and reactions to her. But I just wasn't nervous.
You were shielded. She was the buffer to some extent. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It was so neat to be able to experience a performance like that, just totally covered.
And was Harmony, is that kind of the culmination of a lot of your puppetry work? I didn't know if I didn't know if there was this long body there, and then or long body of work, and then Harmony.
Harmony is the first puppet. Well, that's not true. Sean is one of the first puppets I've ever made. But Harmony was the first really, like big piece that took a long time and was, the result of a lot of planning and all of that on my part. And yeah, I don't know if one person could make more than maybe like one or two giant puppets a year if they were really, really so committed to that. It was a lot. It was a ton of work just logistically, because I had no clue what I was doing. So I will make more. That she's not my last one for sure, but it's not, giant puppets are not something that you can just like, I couldn't in an afternoon make a giant puppet,
Right. And puppetry was kind of the theme du jour of Terrain, because you had Wolfbat there and leading this incredible procession of those large scale, almost New Orleans style puppets. And so it was almost a homecoming of sorts for you.
That was very inspiring for us, actually, for Alex and I, and for some of our puppeteer friends too. And we were marching behind the procession, and I took Harmony into the procession too, and we just looked at each other and we were like, we could do this. Like, this is an achievable thing for us to do. We don't need Wolfbat. It was I think he kind of broke the ice for us to believe that, he did all of this with cardboard. It's cardboard and print and paper mache. We can do this. This is so doable for this community.
Yeah. And I was lucky enough to like get to go to the like entire week at Gonzaga for the Wolfbat. Got to make like multiple masks during that process. It's really felt, especially in the last, like I've been really thinking about like, how am I going to get puppetry happening in Spokane? And now like anytime there's any sort of art work in my sphere, I'm just like glomming. I'm like, this is for puppetry. It's like, this information is for puppetry. This everything. It's like, so to have something like so streamlined as the process that Batwolf has for bringing people in to the creative process, that was like hugely beneficial for us to see like, okay, like how are other people doing this?
And you've been pretty prolific in your output, because you were assembling a lot of puppets out of found objects and the trash puppets. And so there were some that were made out of, chip bags and potato chip bags and things like that. But then you also had I think his official name, the Hairy Disco Frog.
The Hairy Disco Frog. That's
Is that his official name?
I don't think there is that's as official as a name that exists for it. But yeah, that was a mask that was made for my spouse, and it was made around, and like I just was making all these orbs out of paper mache for like, I didn't really know why. I'm just like really enjoying putting paper mache on a beach ball, and so I did that like all of like 2024 over the summer, and so I just have all these paper mache beach ball forms in my garage. And so that one had a particular placement for a saxophone to go into. So that was very much like that puppet was built around like one specific interaction, and then I brought that frame to the Wolfbat, the place that the studio in Gonzaga we were preparing for the Wolfbat procession. I was just like, okay, it's like, what are the materials here? It's like, okay, we have some like, so all the print on the outside of that is just like different prints from Wolfbat, and then the hair is seltzer water boxes.
Oh, no kidding.
Specifically bubbly seltzer water boxes, and maybe one Dr. Pepper box on there too.
And you are, in an attempt to cultivate an appreciation for puppetry, you're also cultivating an appreciation and also a knowledge or a skill building exercise in how to fashion puppets yourself through these workshops. And so you've got workshops coming up. I think this is new for 2026, whereas they've been intermittent up until this point. Now it's a regular thing. On the second Saturday of every month, you're at Art Salvage. And that's a paid class.
Yes.
And then on the third Saturday of every month, you're at Spark Central doing kind of an open workshop. And these are puppet making and puppet building workshops.
Yes. And puppet building and puppet playing workshops.
Yeah.
I like the playing aspect
It's
too.
important.
Yeah.
It's a build and play.
Build and play. So the Art Salvage will be second Saturdays. It's $25. Noon to 3. Our first session will be shadow puppets, which is very exciting. It's a medium that we haven't really explored yet as Spokane Puppetry.
And tell me, what are shadow puppets?
Shadow puppets are any puppets that involve the use of light and shadow to create characters and sets and effects and stories. So what people might be most familiar with as far as shadow puppetry is just a flashlight in your hand making a little wolf shape, all the way up to like having like a floodlight shining through like a gel film that's got different textures to create a like colorful background that's being projected, and then a layer past that of like little figurines or characters that are the subject.
So it's kind of the very different definition of Plato's allegory of the cave, where we're not looking at the object itself, we're looking at the shadow it casts.
Absolutely.
Okay.
For sure.
The shadow is the art.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's broader than you think, because I used to think that shadow puppetry was so boring until I really saw some incredible shadow puppet. The people that host that Fuzzy Cloud Slam in Seattle, the Shadow Girls Cult, their show is one of the most incredible shadow puppetry. It was mixed media. It was projectors with colored film. It was just solid shadows. It was people against, like, it was humans interacting with the shadows.
Oh, okay.
Like, so there was depth difference, and it was so good. I mean, it's 30 minutes of shadow puppetry and you're just riveted. The theater was packed. It was so good, and that changed my perspective on shadow puppetry.
And it shows the possibilities of the form, because you talk about shadow puppets, and it's doing the little wolf and doing the bunny rabbit and things like that. But the fact that could be taken into the level of art form. And people can exercise their creative muscles with that. So that's going to be at Art Salvage coming up.
And then at Spark Central, the third Saturday, also noon to 3, we'll also be doing shadow puppetry. So for 2026, it's going to be the same content for each event. It's just that the Art Salvage is going to be a much smaller class. It's going to be maxed out at 8 people, so people are going to be able to get a lot more instruction if they want it. We'll have access to Art Salvage's materials as well, which is a huge boon. Art Salvage is, especially for for me, I think that's like the best. I can't imagine going anywhere else to get art supplies in Spokane other than, I don't know, if I needed something so specific.
Yeah.
And I'm having a hard time imagining what that object would be, but I don't know, like a brand new pack of some paint or something. Watercolors.
They're perpetually out of watercolors.
Then you can go to just Spokane Art Supplies. So they're not,
exactly.
They're pretty close to one another.
But for what we're doing, Art Salvage is the best.
Their mission is very similar to at least my mission of the trash.
Yes.
And so is each month then going to be themed? So you'll do marionettes one month, and then you'll do sock puppets or trash puppets another month?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. So I think we will have a Lonely Socks Club happening this year.
I have so many of those. Yeah.
Everyone does, and they're often so good.
Mm-hmm.
Sock is such a good like base for a puppet. It's just like you sew stuff on it, you can glue stuff onto it. Everyone's got them.
Well, let's introduce a visual element now. And I understand you've brought some pals along.
Yeah, we have some pals.
And I think they would illustrate what's possible with some of these found objects.
So I want to start with my first puppet that I ever made. I made this puppet like 10 years ago. And this puppet was pretty easy to make. This is Mr. Bear, or Creepy Mouth Bear, as people often will call him. Hi.
And why does he have a creepy mouth? Just because there's a little red tinged on the side? Okay.
Well, my mouth used to be pretty bad, and then it got fixed recently. So this was just a stuffed bear that I cut a slit in the mouth and put a little piece of fabric there. And for years, it was like really loose and weird in there. And then this year, I like put a little piece of cardboard in, and now his mouth is not nearly as weird and creepy. But
and so you've got a stick that you're using to control just one of his arms.
Just on his hands.
And what's crazy is simply animating just one hand makes it seem so much more lifelike. So you don't even have to animate both feet. You don't necessarily have to animate both hands. Just the pole attached to just one hand suddenly brings him more to life.
And got to have like puppets. There's like a fundamental concept in puppetry, which is breadth, weight, and attention. Those are the 3 elements that like make something a puppet essentially.
Okay.
It's like
they're never still.
They're never still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're always got to be doing something, and they should always like have some weight to them. If it's not true, if they don't have an actual weight, like they're having an effect on their own body essentially. And then attention, like they gotta be look. That's like the main thing I feel like. If you give them attention and they're looking at stuff and like checking the studio out, it's bright in here, huh? Yeah, it's really bright in here. So yeah, this is my first ever puppet, and I just like put a hole in there and cut a hole in the back and pulled all the stuffing out of the torso and put a little thing on his hand. And then
I love the fact that they all have names too. I think that again just lends a certain Yeah, a certain more reality to them.
Yeah.
And
As
personality.
as entities, yeah.
And so, again, just for folks who are only getting the audio,
let's
what you have just put on the I think the bear
Okay.
is self-explanatory,
right, of course.
but this is a bread bag, a France bread bag, and its eyes are made of what?
These eyes are made out of like little pack, like squeeze pack applesauce, like basically like little
no
baby
kidding.
food
Yeah.
squeeze packs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And underneath the bag is some that like I would say like cardboard interlacing that they use in packaging that I have painted silver. And underneath that bag is a black garbage bag. And underneath that is a takeout container. And the bags have just been pulled through the back, and little straws have been stuck through it to hold it all in place. There's a little bit of cardboard on the top and bottom to give me a little place to grab it. And this was the first ever trash puppet that I made. This puppet maybe doesn't have a name. I usually call this one Trash Baby. Yeah, my name's Trash Baby. They told me they were going to make me arms and legs, but they never did.
And do the voices come naturally, or do you find you have to work at the voices? Because as you get a feel for each puppet's personality, the visual aesthetic lends it a certain quality. But do you have to try on different voices before you finally think, oh, this is the right one?
Definitely.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think, and this is the really fun thing about puppetry is like giving someone a puppet is like, if you in like a normal social situation was like, hey, do a funny voice for me. Like most of the time people are not going to be like maybe 100% on board immediately with that. If you give someone a puppet and they put it on their hand, they will 100% of the time make a funny voice to go with it.
That's a really good point. Again,
can't-
there's that liberating element. You know, now I get to try on my my different voices and also give a voice that suits this aesthetic or this personality, whatever that happens to be. Because I feel like Trash Baby would have a more gravelly voice.
And it definitely has the like, this is probably like my normal puppet voice. This is like every trash puppet starts here.
You also have to consider how long can you sustain that voice? Are you going to be performing with this puppet? And you need to care for your vocal cords, if so.
Yeah.
And there have been voices that we've tried on and then been like, I gotta shift the voice
do
for
this
this
for any
puppet
longer.
because this is not feeling good on the cords.
Yeah, and then I think the next in the sort of the line of chronology is let's pull up the trash puppets, Sean and Takeout. These are kind of like our.
And were these modeled at Creative Mornings?
So these were
these two?
we
Yeah.
did a little
They
show
seem a
for-
little familiar, but
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
So, hi, I'm Takeout. I have the standard trash puppet voice. But now I have a hand, so I can have a little something. No.
I'm Sean. I usually have a body and a hand, but my mother took them away for this podcast specifically.
Yeah, your body's like really loud, Sean. It goes.
I know.
And so these puppets were made the first time we ever met was at the Trash Puppet Workshop in the basement of the Guardian in June of this year.
And this was something that you organized, or did
Yes.
somebody else put on the trash
this is something
puppet?
that I organized. I had
And I just showed up.
and I posted
Drawn
a
by the
post-
trash puppets.
I posted
Absolutely.
a post about it, and when you are into puppets, people will send you all the puppets they see on the internet. And
So I got sent his post like by 6 different people.
Okay, because
Were
they
like-
had
They
identified you
know
as a
that I'm
puppet
so into it,
aficionado.
and they're like, "You got to go to this." I'm like, "I'm already planning on going." But yeah, that's where Sean was born.
And why Sean?
Sean, okay, so Sean is actually a character. This is fun. Sean is a character that was a hand character with my little girls. And he has always been like really naughty, and they have to tame him. They have to train him. He's always like doing things, and my little girls have to teach him how to be like in the world. And so when I brought this puppet home and I was kind of getting to know him and figuring out who he was, and my girls were like, Mom, that's Sean. And so that's how he sort of got his like naughty personality and kind of rule breaker personality. He's kind of a dodo. He sort of goes along with like whatever Takeout is doing. And Takeout is a real rabble raiser, but Sean is like really small-minded, really weak-minded. So he's just sort of like, yeah, totally.
But I love that there's kind of like an interactive morality lesson there. Like, we've got to teach him how to behave well.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
'Cause he's just like too stupid. Yeah, that was kind of a fun like family. I don't know. It was sweet to get my little girls on board. And that was, they knew who he was before I knew.
And so he's stitched together. Is it from pot holders? Like it looks like a repurposed pot holder.
Do you know, I actually think that these are shoulder pads.
They
Oh,
are.
okay.
Yep, I think they're shoulder
Point at
pads.
the camera.
And then there's, oh my gosh, you're right. See, I'm wearing him I'm left-handed, so this.
As was Jim Henson.
Yeah.
Oh.
was he
Yeah, oh,
really?
yeah.
Oh
That's
my
why
God.
Kermit's always on his left side.
That's amazing.
yeah.
You know what? This feels very wrong. But that's okay. I'm pretty ambidextrous, so it's all good. Then he has earplug teeth, and I don't know. This is like the top of a beer.
A two-pack. Beer two-pack. Mhm.
And some button nose, and I don't know, hair, trash bag, eyebrows. Yeah, he. And we do constantly keep editing these puppets, which is every time they see each other,
Yeah,
they compare. They're like,
You have a hand now.
Well, it gives them something to talk about. And even,
Yeah.
whether you think Kermit or Grover or even Big Bird, they all morphed over time and
it's
kind
true.
of refined. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
These
heard
feel like
Kermit-
our originals.
I heard Kermit was initially not supposed to be like a frog. It was
He
just sort of
wasn't.
like,
He was a green guy.
he's just a green guy. And then it
Yes.
was like, oh, actually, I made a frog. Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he added the little rough collar, and he became a frog.
Yeah. So, and then Takeout's head is like, I just like really like that it like looks kind of bad. Wow, what do you mean? But I think Takeout is like, I want Takeout to always be kind of emblematic of like, anyone can do this. Like I made Takeout in like 3 hours, and his body is like the leftover parts from after school program someone left me. I made his body in like, I don't know, 45 minutes. Like, anyone with a hot glue gun could have done this.
Yeah, and the body just kind of exists as a shield for your arm, just to kind of obscure that.
Yeah.
And then the head is these cardboard strips that are wrapped around. Is that a bitchin sauce container?
This is a clamshell or a Takeout container.
Well, in his
right,
head,
his head,
it's one.
I did add a little structure to me. It is in fact a buffalo bitchin' sauce lid.
Which seems appropriate for Takeout. Yeah.
Yum, bitchin'.
And the front piece there that kind of forms his upper lip. What is that? Because it has an interesting pattern on it.
Yeah, it's cardboard, and I had been doing using hot glue, putting hot glue onto parchment paper and doing like designs in that, and then peeling the hot glue off and using that as a stencil. And I'd spray painted using these stencils like a ton of cardboard. And so his lip is from basically a painting. I didn't want to be a painting anymore. I wanted it to be art supplies.
Okay.
And so I have like I used to have like garbage bags and garbage bags and garbage bags of this, just like little pieces of this, but it's what I've been bringing to trash puppet like builds, and just being like, here's a bunch of like cool weird pieces of like irregular shaped cardboard and hot glue, and like what do you see, and like what does the cardboard say to you?
It says bacon.
This is it does look kind of a lot like a piece of sparkly bacon.
And it really is the embodiment. I mean, Takeout in particular is the embodiment of the fact that you've just cobbled a bunch of random pieces together,
Yes.
made two things look like eyes, look like a nose, look like a mouth, and the imagination kind of does the rest. And so I see this thing, and there is an entity there.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. I see you too. Yeah. And then some other sort of puppets that have come out of this process. So then the next level for me was making Kritch. Kritch Kriggle is a malevolent Yuletide spirit.
Also a takeout container.
Also, and yes, this is also 2 takeout containers. I've taken the sort of the shape, the structural idea of what takeout was, and just been I could just do that and just make blanks, blank heads with takeout containers, and they could become anything. And this, this fur was. Tell me about where this fur is from again. It's
just at an estate sale that I went to.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
But it's so much more elaborate, and so whereas Takeout really kind of wears his takeoutedness on his sleeve, with this, if I didn't know that it was a takeout container already, I would be hard pressed to tell you what exactly was in there.
Yeah, putting some fake fur on anything really sort of obfuscates what's underneath. This is really Takeout is maybe 1% of the way to being a Muppet, whereas Kritch is maybe 90% of the way to being a Muppet. And his eyes are egg, plastic Easter eggs, and also I used a black clamshell for his mouth, so I didn't have to paint the inside of it. His ears are
Toilet paper
tubes. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's rectangular headed, but because he's covered in green fur. And then you've got that little shroud that comes down off of him and that kind of functions as his neck. It's, I guess, a similar principle to what's going on with Takeout. Oh, and he's got a hand as well.
He's got a hand. He's got a 4-fingered hand because, little monsters always got to have a weird amount of fingers on their hand. Yeah, get that out of here. Well, yeah, it's just I'm a really big fan of Cookie Monster specifically. I like a puppet that has a functional hand.
Yeah, me too.
One of my other recent formative puppet experiences was Particle Inc. in Las Vegas, which is a projection-based show where acrobats are interacting with these really elaborate light puppets as opposed to shadow puppets are all projected. But then there's this one really chill. So the whole thing is an immersive experience. So you can kind of go room to room, but in one of the rooms is just a really sweet, nicely lit room with candle quality lighting and all these paper prayers hanging from the ceiling that other previous participants had come to. And then in the very far back of the room, there's just this puppet that's painting. It's actually live painting, and you can go back there and just have a little conversation with it. And so I think that's the idea that these puppets exist in the same world as the audience, and they could just walk right down to the audience and interact with them. It's a huge selling point of the whole process for me.
And again, what I find so astounding is that the imaginative leaps that we are almost, that suspension of disbelief that we are almost eager to take, because all it takes is a single hand. And they don't need 2 hands, just a single hand. And I immediately see it as more lifelike and want to engage with it. It's really kind of crazy.
I was 38 years old before I realized that Big Bird operates with 1 hand.
Yeah.
And of course he does, because someone has
the
to do the
outstretched
mouth.
hand.
Someone has to do the mouth, and then someone does, and then the same person does the other hand. But I never knew. That was not ever a cognitive. Why does his other hand just stick right here on his side? Never.
Yeah.
Never.
I had never noticed that his hand did that until I saw a picture, a picture of how Big Bird is operating.
Same.
Oh, that hand is just there.
The Jim Henson documentary.
Yeah.
Literally, that I watched earlier, or later last year.
And I think a big part of the one-handed puppet that is really exciting for me is that it's one operator.
Yep.
So like
That's why
the
they do
Swedish chef, you cannot do the Swedish chef with one person because it's got two functional human hands, like exposed human hands.
That's right, yeah.
And the mouth.
I'm really drawn to ensemble puppetry, though. I want to so bad build a puppet that takes 2, maybe even 3 people to operate, and then have regular get-togethers where we try to figure out how to manipulate it together. I want that to be a whole like spark or
Yeah, I mean, that's a theme. That's definitely a theme.
yeah, and they can be really rudimentary, but it's a whole other facet to puppetry of learning how to intuit people's movements and, work together to animate a single object. Tricky, but so cool when it's right.
And that's your ulterior motive, I guess, in cultivating a dedicated puppetry community and people who value puppets and appreciate puppets. The ulterior motive is to put your ensemble together so that you can realize this.
Literally, that is it.
And I see you've got some finger puppets here too.
Are created so these are from Ander Patterson, Curse Words and Birds.
Okay.
I was at their studio and we were just like, we had been talking. I was like, let's like collab on something. Like you make your artwork is so. If anyone hasn't not familiar with Curse Words and Birds, like if you've been to Lunarium, like all the painting in there is by them.
We've got a mural just up here on North Monroe.
If you live in Spokane, you've seen their art.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I would say they're like kind of like the Henry of Spokane. Like they're pretty ubiquitous and they're very like very character forward. They're very interesting and unique looking characters. Like, well, we need to get you in on this because like, all the characters that they draw, I'm like, that could be a puppet. That could be a puppet. So I went to their studio and I saw like this watercolor painting that was, I wouldn't say discarded, but didn't look like it was bound for any specific future. And I was like, can I turn this watercolor painting into puppets? And so we're men with tiny hats sharing hot gossip. But what these are is they're just a face that's been drawn onto like a watercolor face, and I cut the bottom half of the mouth off, and I made a little finger loop for the top of the head and a finger loop for the bottom of the head, and then just a little lattice in there just to keep them together. And
it's almost like a pop-up book mechanism.
Yeah. It's very much like
mechanisms are Alex's wheelhouse.
But when
clever.
When I think mechanism, I think metal parts or plastic parts, and this is done entirely with cardboard. And so we've got these movable mouths that remain affixed to the puppet, and yet, there's definitely something that you have to trigger and activate there.
Yeah, and it's just like, just so like I didn't. This was the characters created themselves as puppets. Like I saw them and the way to make them puppets was clear to me, like how they wanted to become.
Well, that's kind of the ideal, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And then I think the last sort of puppets that I've got were just like I was doing a after school program and the kids created a show called the Puppet Olympics, and I didn't have them for the actual show with the kids, but I did this. I like took the script and a bunch of my puppets and I recast the characters with my puppets, and I did this at Christmas with my family, and I was like, you know what, like this Puppet Olympics show needs like there's going to be audience members like watching this puppet show, so these are puppets like for audience members at that puppet show to like. The audience could also be puppeteers of the audience of the puppet show.
And again, I want to emphasize here just how simplistic these are. They still count, in my opinion, as puppets.
Yep.
They still fit the bill, but they are just faces that have been painted on very roughly cut out paper bags and then affixed to a small rod.
Yes.
Rod might be even it is
Generous.
half a wood skewer. But yeah, they're and like this is like very much the kind of like audience participation, audience experience and audience participation that like puppet shows like can have.
Yes.
And I think this is extremely the surface of what we're looking at doing in shows in the future. Like, I'm just so interested in a show where the audience is like seeing a fantastical world and they're in it.
Yeah. Because I think even the reluctant participant wouldn't have too much of an issue holding up one of these faces and being engaged in the action.
That's exactly it. If you gave an audience member a line, they might panic. But if you hand them something to project with, it just changes the comfort level, I think.
Yeah, and even operating the mouth might be a little intimidating, but here it's pretty straightforward. Like, I know what's expected of me.
Right.
I just kind of bob it up and down, and that becomes
You're
an audience member.
You were already going to cheer.
Yes.
Yeah, and so that's pretty much that's what I've got puppet-wise today as our examples.
Well, no, I think that showcases the breadth of what's possible. I mean, even just with basic puppetry, and we didn't see any, for example, marionette-style puppets and that sort of thing. But all of these different, and it's a shame Harmony is not here because that would be the backpack backpack puppet.
Harmony would fit in this room.
I don't even think I could make her sit down in this room. Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of showcases what's possible. And also, folks come in here and talk about the stigma that's associated with their particular art form. And so, for example, opera, there's certain stigmas associated with opera or classical music, and people immediately have preconceptions. And when you say puppet, again, we have, I think every one of us has a certain familiarity with puppets, but there's maybe not necessarily a stigma, but a preconception, like puppets are for kids. Yeah, exactly. And then when you talk about the adult humor, it shows that they're not. And the same thing with when you talk about puppets, and it's easy to leap to conclusions about what form they will take. And you say, no, you can do something as simple as a paper bag on a round stick, and you're good.
Yeah.
Cool. So we will close this portion of the interview and then move into the lightning round. I don't know are you prepared for the lightning round?
Alex prepared me as sort of.
Okay.
We're as prepared as any people can be to answer questions we don't know what they're going to be.
Okay, good. Yeah, some folks are just completely shocked by the concept of the lightning round, although maybe less so because, there were 2 holiday lightning round only episodes. So yeah, maybe it's less of a mystery now, but okay. So we'll move into the lightning round. And, I was torn because I didn't know whether I wanted to do this in character, but I think I would rather have the answer straight from you rather than the puppet.
I think that's going to make for better podcast.
Yeah. Okay, so the first one is an either or question. Tiffany, I'll start off with you.
Okay.
Thank God.
Interstate highway or back roads?
Back roads.
Okay. And is that because you like the scenic route?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The highway doesn't have any appeal for you, just getting to where you're going super fast. You'd rather take the more languorous.
That's how I live my life.
Okay.
Is the back roads. Okay. I'm never taking the direct route to anything in any capacity, in any category of my life. It's always the meandering, it's the ADHD route.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alex, what about you?
Interstate.
And are you saying that just to contrast? Because I appreciate that, but
well, I mean, it's I would say it's very road dependent. I love a lot of back roads, but also I like the thing I like a lot about the interstate highways is they have restrooms every 70 miles.
Yeah, there's a certain predictability there because I have been on the back roads when you needed a certain amenity and it wasn't there. So
my back road, I had back roads days, and now I'm feeling I like
the safety
I like
and the
my
comfort.
Strangeness and mystery to be generated by me
At your control.
If I'm going to the back roads, I'm going there for a reason, for sure.
Cool. A certain intentionality to the back roads.
Yeah, I assume that if we're gonna say interstate or back roads, I assume we mean getting somewhere.
Yeah,
And if we're gonna get somewhere, the best way to do it is Eisenhower's interstate highway system.
All right, so you've got the next question. Do you have a lucky talisman? So whether that's a number or a pair of socks or a pair of boxers or something like that, do you have a lucky object?
Do I have a lucky object? I do have a lucky red pen that
Okay.
appeared to me when I was in school at SFCC. I was in the hallway between classes. I was drawing a bunch of Amanita muscaria mushrooms. And in my mind, I thought, man, I really wish I had a red pen or like some red ink. And the person next to me slammed down a red pen and like ran out of the building as quickly as possible. So
With no prompting from you?
No prompting. No, I don't know. Like, I think we maybe were on, I will say, no
Like a
prompting in the physical realm.
A telepathic wavelength.
We might have both, me and this mystery person might have been existing in a elevated, expanded realm of reality.
No kidding. So they slapped down the red pen, the very red pen
and
that
the
you
red
needed.
Pilot pen, G205 pilot pen, which is like, that's my pen.
Yeah. And you still have that.
I still have that
Do you
pen.
sign important documents in that red pen?
No, I do like creative. So that pen has gone through some variation at this point. That pen, I have replaced the clicker from it, like the button of the clicker, so I can always tell which pen it is. And the ink tube from the center has been gone through multiple times at this point.
Okay. I'm glad to see you're maintaining it, though.
Oh yeah. If you get a magic pen, you gotta maintain your magic pen.
That is wild.
Tiffany, what about you?
No, I think I think that lucky objects it's a little too close to like relics, and I grew up religious.
I see.
And I think my rejection of all of that also just lumped in anything that is remotely close for me. So no such thing as luck, no such thing as fate.
So a full rejection
Yeah.
of all of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now the only magic in your life is what you wear on your
Yeah.
your back or your
Is
hand.
that hilarious? Yeah. I don't have any religious trauma associated with puppets. So that can be magical. That's fine. But yeah, we can't be assigning any kind of spiritual meaning to
You
objects.
never watched the religious puppet show about the donut?
Okay, listen. Puppets were a part of my Sunday school for a really large chunk of time, like a very long. The church that I grew up at used a curriculum that incorporated puppets, and it was the best. Oh my God, I loved that curriculum. I don't think I learned anything from it. It just, you know what I mean? Clearly it didn't stick, but the puppetry, I was like, this is fun. And I remember I was like, I want to be back there. I want to do the puppets. And they let me do it a couple times.
It sounds like a very effective evangelical strategy. So
Yeah, it caught me for sure, but it wasn't sustainable. That's for sure.
Okay, so nothing lucky. Now we get into smells. Do you have either a smell that repulses you or a favorite smell?
I am so sensitive to smells, actually, ever since I had kids. So anything artificial fragrance is just an instant migraine for me.
Can you give me a for instance?
Oh, any perfume, car air fresheners, household cleaners, everything in my home is unscented. Laundry soap, everything. My children are forbidden to wear like really highly fragranced things. I can do real fragrances though, like essential oils, and I think patchouli is my favorite thing.
Really?
Wow.
Because patchouli in itself is kind of polarizing.
People love it or they hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wear it every day. I love it. It's
No
grounding
kidding.
to me. Yeah, it's grounding to me.
And so for someone who has such an acute sense of smell, you're totally cool with patchouli.
As long as it's
In moderation?
naturally derived.
Oh, okay.
If it's a patchouli scented candle with artificial fragrance, I cannot. But if it's real patchouli oil, all good.
Okay.
Yeah.
No artificial smells around you. Alex, what about you?
I do have good smell, a smell I like the most, and that is the smell of rose. And it's because my grandmother has always kept a rose garden, and so like the smell of rose is like extremely calming for me. Just like a little bit of rose scented pillow or something, or rose scented candle. I like the rose scented Bronner's soap. Yeah, just anything rose.
Okay, so if anybody's getting you a Christmas gift, and then get something rose scented,
If it
rose
smells
scented
like if it smells like roses, it's gonna be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Log that
And it
away.
fits well with the expression, come up smelling of roses. So
Rose tinted glasses, smelling of roses.
yeah. It's all good, all positive.
Yeah.
And then finally, you've got this one. What did you want to be when you grew up? What was your childhood professional ambition?
My childhood professional ambition, among all children, it goes all over the place. Mine was really to be a video game designer.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and
So what age was this? Because that doesn't sound like young child. That sounds like maybe teen child.
I was in 2nd grade, and I was using my Legos to make a little Game Boy, and I had a notebook of like video games that I was playing, and I would like write levels for those games or like new characters. And like I wrote, a video game in this notebook about like my like day-to-day life of like walking to school, and then I was like journaling in the form of game design.
No kidding.
And I've done, as an adult now, like the materials are like there to kind of like get into game design as a hobby. So I've been playing with Godot a little bit. I made a project in Construct 3D Construct 3 a couple years ago. And yeah, it's like, I don't know if it's anything I would ever pursue as a professional ambition, but I like the building element of it is very fun.
And I'm looking forward to the fusion, and I'm sure you will find a way to do this. The fusion of puppetry and video game design.
100%. Yeah.
We're getting there.
We're right on the edge.
Yeah.
Like just a keyboard controlled projected puppet, like accomplishable.
Tiffany?
Oh man. Yeah, I did. I mean, every kid has like 10, they cycle through the things, but I feel like maybe the most common one, or the longest lasting phase that I went through, was I wanted to be a singer.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I did. And the funniest like expression of this was when I was in maybe kindergarten or 1st grade, and everyone was supposed to paint a picture, like a poster size picture of what they wanted to be when they grew up. And my mom tells the story the best, that she went to like parents' night, and everyone's pictures were up, and there was like very nice pictures of like doctors and teachers and nurses, and I had painted a girl in like a little bra with like this really sassy little ponytail, and then these like real low rise like hip hugger hot pants, and singing into a microphone. And my mom was like, "That's my kid."
What year was this?
This would have been, I know that because it's giving,
It's giving Coyote Ugly.
Well, I was thinking like Britney Spears, but no,
or like
it was
Madonna. That era.
Madonna
Not
for
Madonna.
Sure. Yes, because it was. Remember, she had that like taller pony.
Right, she had the straight up pony.
That is exactly. I hope I still have this painting somewhere, because it's iconic. It's exactly. It's me to a T. It's sort of like, one of these things is not like the other.
And was it clear that you had painted this person in a skimpy outfit? Was it clear at least that they were a singer, and there wasn't any?
She was holding a microphone.
Okay.
She was holding a microphone. Yes, it was.
I wonder if there was some uncertainty around the profession, and people were really starting to question.
What are you gonna do for a living? Yeah. Yeah, I think she had a microphone. I do remember that. It was my one saving grace. My poor mother. Imagine my very conservative mother. Like, no. She's a singer. See, she has a microphone. It's fine, everyone. But
So yeah, from the stage as a singer to
Yes.
pastry chef and puppeteer.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
It's a
makes
natural
sense.
progression.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Tale as old as time.
Well, Tiffany, Alex, I want to thank you so much for coming in today
Oh, thank
and
you.
talking about Spokane Puppetry and then also showing off this ensemble of puppets as well.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
this is
thank
so
you
fun.
so much.
Yeah,
This is
thank
so
you.
good. Yeah, we're gonna get you into a puppet.
We
Yeah, yeah.
For 100%.
absolutely are.
Yeah, I think you'll have a willing participant there. Yeah.
Perfect.
That makes our job easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.